All right, Xfinity in the Xfinity car, or Charlotte in the Xfinity car. I don't know. I've made too many of these. Steering, it's all the same settings I usually do for mile and a half, 16 to 1 plus 257. Steering settings are completely do what's comfortable for you. I need to make this disclaimer because everyone always is like, I have a lot of good people come up to me and be like, why are you telling them to use blah, blah, steering ratio? It doesn't matter. And I'm like, I say it doesn't matter. Like every time I say it doesn't matter. And they're like, oh, 12 to 1 is like so much better than 16 to 1. I'm like, yeah, it might be for you. I'm sure it is. You know, it's like it's not fundamentally changing the handling of the car. It's just changing how fast the steering wheel moves with your controller, right? So we're going to be running the high line. Second lap. First lap is fast, don't get me wrong, but second lap you can get a little bit more out of it. We'll just do a little run here. Yeah, just not enough right rear grip to make that first lap work. I'm trying to get that 30.2 flat on the second lap, or even a 0.1. I think that's pretty doable running the top here. 1 and 2 I've been getting. 3 and 4 is a little bit tough. That the entrance running high 3 and 4 is just a lot more precise than 1 and 2. That was very good. That was extremely good, actually. All right, now we just don't want to mess up 3. Got a little tight there. Wasn't amazing, but it did the job. That was a good lap time. Maybe the track temperature cooled. I'll have to check that. But I got a little tight center of 3 and 4, so I couldn't go hard on the throttle as early as I wanted to. But that's just the nature of the angle of the corner. It's always going to be harder to get back on the throttle on 3 and 4 than 1 and 2. No, that was the track temp that I set my last time after, so that was a strong lap. I think there's probably another half a tenth to full tenth in 3 and 4. 1 and 2 felt really good. I would be shocked if there was more than half of a tenth left in there in 1 and 2 that you'd see people do consistently. So notice how even though I'm running the high line, I'm angling my car down the track ever so slightly before we drop into the corner. Going to be something you hear me talk about a lot, but that's true. Even when we're ripping the wall, we want the nose to be pointed at least somewhere down the track before we enter the corner. Preferably the nose is pointed where we want to go. And because I only want to go a little bit lower than where I am, that's where it's pointed. But it just helps me from not getting tight corner center. You can see how, let's play this at full speed again. When I turn my wheel, the car turns. Which sounds like, okay, duh. But no, that only happens when you set your nose correct in corner entry. If you overdrive the corner, not in a throttle sense, but in a steering timing sense, when you turn your wheel right here, the car's going to say no and just slide up against the wall. That's how people are able to enter these high lines deeper than you. It's because they are getting their nose pointed down the track. Even if it's not far down the track, they get it pointed so that the car is able to maintain the weight in a way to where you can add wheel input and keep the car off the wall. I always like to turn a bit off the wall, coming through turn 4, because there's a really tight exit where you can hit the wall if you get caught out, or you can get really loose if you have to hold too much wheel. So I just make my way back down a little bit, and then, yeah. So you can see, because turn 3 is a lot tighter of an entry than turn 1, I actually have to get a lot more off throttle into 3. I tried to jump the throttle here because I'm like, the car felt like it was fine in terms of handling. So I was like, okay, I can jump the throttle and the car will still turn with me. But when I jumped the throttle here, I noticed immediately that the car was getting tight. So I had to just immediately back off. And that back off and back on was probably costing me a little time. I know there's flickering in my throttle here, but it's not going below this line, so I know it's just going to be annoying, but it's not actually under 100%. I'm just on new carpet. But once you get off the wall in 3, you just need to point back down a little bit, and then it's like very easy to exit 4. Again, you don't want to stay right by the wall because Charlotte's walls tighten on exit a lot more than most tracks, even turn 4, which should normally be wide. But in terms of the actual angle of corner exit, it's not as tight. So you just need to make sure to turn down a little bit early, and it'll be a very easy exit. In terms of long run, these 1.5 miles in the Xfinity cars, recently, it's been a lot about right rear preservation, but you can burn off the right front too if you're not careful. Right rear preservation is just making sure not to slide your right rear tire, not getting loose, not oversteering ever. All kind of the same deal. Different ways to say the same thing. Where no matter how you get into how you drive the corners, like you don't want to do that. I forgot about the cold tires. That is exactly what you don't want to do. The problem with tire heat is now that my right rear tire is super duper hot, it's gonna have even less baseline grip for me. I don't know if bottom's ever gonna be good here. Maybe an arcing bottom, maybe a late apex. But for me, and I could be proven wrong, it just feels like the bottom doesn't have enough going for it. You have to overslow the corner too much. If you run the top in a way where your car is neutrally balanced the whole way, like just not overdoing it, just kind of running easy. Like, yeah, I'm a 1/10.5 off, maybe up to 2/10 of my qualifying lap, but that's completely fine versus a qual lap. Maybe 3 and 4, a little bit of roll in the bottom. Yeah, like that's really nice. I'll lose some time off of here, but that was losing a 1/10 is completely fine. So maybe even switching up, like running top 1 and 2, bottom 3 and 4. Top 1 and 2 helps keep the car off the right rear and sliding. Turn 3 and 4, you can just roll the bottom. Do the same thing. Save a little bit more front tire. Along with that, a little bit of a brake tap just to get our car settled. But yeah. Like running a 30.4, 30.5, like yeah, that's fine. That is fine for a race. Maybe try to run the bottom one more time here. Didn't really like I didn't love how 1 and 2 felt on the bottom. Because of that. Probably damaged the car quite a bit there. So honestly, my gut feeling on long run is top of 1 and 2, and then bottom 3 and 4. Yeah, like I don't like, yes, that might be a little bit more tire wear, but it just doesn't feel like that bad to me. Especially with how much I had to crank the wheel to get the car off the wall in turn 1 and 2. Let me try bottom one more time. It loses a lot of time. Maybe if you have a huge gap behind you and you want to save some tire, bottom 1 and 2, if you roll it really gently without sliding anything, maybe it becomes beneficial to roll the bottom for tires. But I can just see, especially when everything's packed together, a lot of people are going to get taken advantage of trying to run the bottom of 1 and 2. Like, that felt all right. Let me try the top one more time at the next lap. Oh, bump. That was a crazy bump. You guys saw that bump. Very interesting. I kind of never noticed that bump. Maybe because the car's a little bit low here. Or the car bottom out even. Okay, let's try to top one more time. It's just, it's not that much better, is it? Half a tenth? Full tenth? Full tenth if I ran that perfectly, maybe? I think that if you have a gap behind you, it is worth it on your tires to run the bottom. I think if you're trying to defend or make up track position, that's going to be more important than that tire for the most part, especially in a vibe of a race where you're running a lot of cautions. But you see how the right rear is the one that's kind of constraining. That's telling me that whatever line you run, you just got to make sure not to be sliding your tires. And then I think the top of 1 and 2 is going to be the way, but I really like the bottom 3 and 4. I don't think the top of 3 and 4 is the play. But that's just my opinion. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day. Hope to see you all on the track.